and Sports app.
Fox News, I'm Carmen Roberts. The U.S. expands attacks on Iran, which calls Strait of Hormuz a red line as it retaliates. But White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says
Iran very much continues to talk to the United States of America and express that they want to make a deal with us because they are suffering devastating blows on behalf of our United States military.
And Iran has launched attacks on Iraq, Bahrain, Jordan, and Kuwait as it tries to target U.S. forces. Parts of Texas are still facing a risk of flooding following extreme rainfall. Kendall County Judge Jane Stolarczyk tells reporters officials got advance notice of this flooding.
Although we had a great response to the last flood, we were even better positioned this time to pre-position assets because we had some notice.
America's listening to Fox News.
Lower your energy use. Lower your bills. Call Concord Mechanical. With decades of hands-on experience, their expert team specializes in high-efficiency upgrades designed to slash your monthly energy costs. They don't just install the equipment. They optimize your entire home's performance, from precision maintenance that prevents costly breakdowns to modern, eco-friendly systems that pay for themselves. Call today or visit theconcordmechanical.com to schedule your service. Concord Mechanical. Experience you can trust. Savings you can see.
Got a real craving for some real authentic Mexican food? Not some Americanized knockoff? Head to Tacos Los Amigos, where classic Mexican favorites are made from scratch and packed with flavor. From smoky and tender carne asada and flavorful tacos to cheesy quesadillas, burritos, and house-made guacamole, at Tacos Los Amigos, every bite tastes like Mexico. Tacos Los Amigos, open 11 to 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday on Amherst Highway, Business 29 in Madison Heights.
Hey, small to medium business owners, if you're frustrated with slow IT support, high costs, or paying for services you just don't use, it's time for a change. Hi, I'm Colt with We Fix Stupid Computers. We provide reliable on-site and remote support tailored for businesses just like yours. And we go beyond just fixing problems. We empower your staff with real technology so they can work smarter every day. From repairs to training to full IT support, we save you time, stress, and money. Call We Fix Stupid Computers, 434-525-8590, where smart support meets real savings.
Edge of your seat drama, the thrilling pursuit of victories and championships. From the premier NASCAR series to local racing, visit frontstretch.com for your true inside access. We don't just report the news, we live it. From insightful articles and captivating podcast commentary, frontstretch.com opens the gates to the NASCAR pits, track, and corporate suite so you can get closer to the garage than ever before. Frontstretch.com, fast, fearless, focused on racing fans.
You're stepping into the fast lane on the VTRN Sports app, 93.3 FM and 1320 AM Lynchburg, and asking your smart speaker, open VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, take the fast lane through the topics that matter across the Commonwealth. This is the Fast Lane with Ed Lane and JJ Hendrickson.
Continuing our coverage of the ACC kickoff presented by Black Goose Chimney Service. Get that chimney ready for a cozy house fire. Thanks to Black Goose. Visit them at blackgoose.net. Joining us now at the ACC kickoff, somebody whose team you will be hearing regularly throughout the season on your home for the Hokies. VTRN Sports app, 93.3 FM Lynchburg and 106.3 Danville Southside. The head coach of the Virginia Tech Hokies, James Franklin, with us here in the fast lane. James, great to be speaking with you. Thank you very much for taking a bit of your time out to chat with us. Vacation. You went on that as soon as Brian White was announced as athletic director. As a type A personality, at what point are you able to fully disconnect the entire time, or does there come a point where you get a little antsy about getting back into the flow of things?
Yeah, not ideal timing to lose an athletic director, and not ideal timing to hire an athletic director. But one of the things that was great is he was on his flight back, taking his family back to FAU. They stopped and spent the day with us and our family in Florida, which was great. We talked on the phone a bunch and things like that. But no, it probably takes me about a week or so to get into vacation mode, and then right when that starts, it's ready to go back. It's time to go back. So I actually like the routine of work. I enjoy the routine. I'm comfortable in it. I have to get comfortable during vacation and during that time. But as you know, with email and text messages and DMs and all that kind of stuff. It's hard to really disconnect from it the way you'd like.
When you're in that spot, is it more about carving out time to be intentional with your family and then carving out time where you might be able to, whether it's early in the morning or late at night when everyone else has gone to bed, do some business as well?
Yeah, I'm a morning guy, and my wife and daughters are not. So it allows me to get some stuff done in the morning. And then after that, I try to, do a really good job of being intentional about being locked in on my wife and daughters, which there are certain times of the year where that's harder to do. So I try to do the best job I can with it. Obviously those relationships and those jobs are very, very important to me. My wife and my 2 daughters are my world, and I try to do everything I possibly can, during these summers and during vacation when I do get some time with them to be present.
Virginia Tech Hokies head coach James Franklin is with us here in the Fast Lane. Our coverage presented by Black Goose Chimney Service. Get that chimney ready for a wonderful house fire this winter by visiting blackgoose.net. James, the move to Virginia Tech has been discussed. When did it come up on your radar as Virginia Tech being a serious candidate and a serious interest in you and vice versa?
Well, we pretty much talked to all the schools that had openings, really, except for one. We talked to all of them, some in a formal setting, some in somewhat informal settings. But Virginia Tech was by far the most aggressive right from the beginning. Didn't take very long for them to reach out. It didn't take very long for them to want to come and visit in person with me and my wife. The other thing was when they showed up, I thought it was an initial conversation to get to know each other, and they were ready for me to sign that night. So the process started fast and was pretty aggressive right from the beginning.
What role did your agent, Jimmy Sexton, play in terms of gauging the commitment for Virginia Tech to providing you with not just the resources for your own position, but for your staff, the infrastructure, all the other elements that go into not just 1 year at Virginia Tech, but into a successful program?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I think there was discussion that I remember at some point people were saying, well, Jimmy Sexton is dragging this thing out to try to get as much money for James Franklin as he could. That was never part of the deal, because what a lot of people don't understand is I'm not making any money for working for Virginia Tech. I was going to get paid. I had a guaranteed contract. I was going to get paid for the next 7 years without. So really the discussions were about staff or about NIL. How do we make sure that there's a commitment to winning at the very, very highest level and understanding what that means from a university? The good thing is they had already started that process with the Invest to Win plan. So a lot of those things that we were asking for were already in place or weren't far off from what they were asking, but it really had nothing to do with my contract.
You mentioned the Invest to Win plan. How much of it then for you could be focused on providing your suggestions to the administration, including people that have now been hired since then, to take those initiatives like the Invest to Win, the Hokie Club, and others to the next level where there's multiple paths to sustainable resources?
Yeah, that's what it's all about, right? We got to make sure that we can compete when it comes to above the cap NIL, when it comes to facilities, so that our building and our teaching and learning environments are as good as anywhere in the country. And also that it shows a commitment to recruits and their families that football is important here, right? And, it was interesting first getting to Virginia Tech. I wouldn't say that was necessarily the case. There was, even in our own athletic department, there was a lot of other facilities that I would say were much better than the football facilities.
Where are the Virginia Tech Hokies realistically in terms of the timeline? Obviously not everything, especially if it's a building, you can't just build it overnight, but where are they in terms of those steps progressing on a timeline where you anticipate they being and where they need to be?
Yeah, I'm not sure, because I'm still learning the ACC. I've been a head coach in the SEC. I've been a head coach in the Big Ten. I've been in the ACC before as an assistant, but that was a long time ago. So being able to compare and contrast is hard to do, but I do think just in terms of our roster, we definitely have more depth. We definitely have more speed. And we are bigger and stronger. So I think we're in a much better position from that standpoint. But in terms of the league, being able to compare and contrast where we're at, I think we've controlled the things that we can control in our locker room and on our campus. But we'll find out here soon enough.
How much of that also is James Franklin, Virginia Tech head coach, is with us here in the Fast Lane? How much of that also involves communication with new athletic director Brian White and the staff he's putting in place?
Yeah, that's a big part of this. I wanted a partner. I wanted somebody that I felt like was going to be committed at the same level I was, and that was going to be a partner in trying to find solutions to challenges and problems, and somebody that could go across campus and articulate the vision and the plan and what we needed to do, and then also be able to explain what we're competing against on a national level. And between him and his family's history, I don't think there's anybody better to help us do that.
James Franklin, head coach, Virginia Tech Hokies, stopping by with us here in the Fast Lane on your home for the Hokies in Lynchburg, the VTRN Sports app, and 93.3 FM, as well as the Gretna Danville Southside area on 106.3 FM. We'll have all your Hokies football games this coming fall, broadcasting you those games. In your particular journey, just your self-assessment, I want to bring up a couple of names if you don't mind. Andy Reid, Tony Dungy. They had great first runs, but it didn't end the way they wanted. However, they learned from those and made their second halves, you could argue, even better than their first acts. What have you gained from whether that's talking to them, studying them, looking at other people in that spot where they had a great first run as a head coach somewhere, and they were able to actually take the way it ended and parlay that into a better second act, which we hope you do at Virginia Tech?
Yep. Yeah, Andy's somebody I've known for a long time, has been a mentor to me. I did some internships and some time with the Eagles. I've known Andy for a long time. He's done a phenomenal job. One of the most respected coaches that's out there. And I think your point's a good one, right? And I think it's typically a combination of things. It's not only what Andy and Coach Dungy learned and adjusted, but it's also going to a place that is embracing them as well and providing some of the things that maybe the previous place wasn't. It's a combination of all those things. But I think for Coach Dungy and for Coach Reid and for myself, it starts by looking in the mirror, and it starts by what are some of the areas that I need to improve? What are some of the areas that we need to get better? And most importantly, it's who you surround yourself with. You know, you talked about Lynchburg in the beginning. I think Coach Pry graduated high school in Lynchburg. And having Coach Pry back with us and being able to run our defense and our history together and the time that we've spent having success is a big part of this too.
Last one, and we wrap it up with James Franklin on this. AJ Brand was an interesting one a couple months ago, switching positions. What's the conversation like? Take us through how different that is. Maybe back in the day where you presented the idea and guys may have been more boxed in. Now there's freedom of movement, there's agents, there's players, there's representatives, there's coaches, there's so many people involved with the player in that decision. How do you go through that decision to make sure that you can still convey how beneficial a position transfer can be from one to the next?
Yeah, I think it's really challenging. It's more challenging than it's ever been. I think there's going to be a ton of players that may not make it to the NFL because in the old days, the coach would switch their position and they would do it and didn't have the option of transfer portal. Now there's guys that may fight really what they should do and what's in their best interest and what's in the team's best interest. I think the most important thing is he's too good of an athlete to not be on the field and helping us not only in the short term, but in the long term. I think he's got a bright future. More times than not, what's good for Virginia Tech's also good for AJ. Also, what's good for AJ is usually good for Virginia Tech. And I think this is clearly one of those examples. And I think he's got a very, very bright future. It took some time. It took some adjustment. He struggled with it at first because, you know, when you've been playing quarterback your whole life, it's hard to imagine doing something different. But I think he's got a very bright future at the position, and we look forward to working with him.
I imagine as a coach, you have to give him a little time to kind of grieve the position loss while understanding that you made a pretty compelling case of why the switch is good.
That's right. Yes, sir.
James Franklin, head coach, Virginia Tech Hokies, with us in the Fast Lane. Coach, thank you for your time.
Appreciate you, buddy.
So the pivot, of course, from James Franklin to defensive tackle for the Virginia Tech Hokies, Kamari Copeland, who's with us here at the ACC kickoff, and our coverage presented by Black Goose Chimney Service. Get that chimney ready so that you can enjoy a cozy fireplace thanks to Black Goose. Visit them at blackgoose.net. Kamari, thank you for making time for us today in the Fast Lane. First of all, your weight. You've mentioned that you have gotten above the 300-pound threshold. And when you get older, you don't want that. But when you're in your spot, it seems like that's a good thing.
Yeah, for a D tackle, it'll help out like with your draft stock being over 300 pounds, around 300 pounds. And that was a huge testament to Coach Franklin. He told me like to gain weight, and that'll help out a lot. So it's been a lot of work. I had to eat a lot, and I'm 300 pounds now, so it's been good.
How do you go about it with diet, with your conditioning program, to make sure that this is good weight you're adding and they're not feeling really sluggish?
Yeah, so like the strength staff, they've been harping on eating as much protein as you can. You know, if you eat a bunch of pizza and you get 300 pounds, you're going to be fat. But they've harped on like eating a lot of protein. So for me, my goal is to eat like around 300 grams of protein every day. Sometimes it's harder, sometimes it's not. Eating a lot of steak, chicken and stuff like that. And it's helped me out a lot. And I'm 300 pounds now. So And I still have a six-pack. I kept my six-pack 300 pounds. So.
You kept your
Good.
six-pack. That's quite impressive. Is it because you're full after eating all the protein? Like,
Yeah,
I don't need any carbs. I don't need any room.
Yeah, it's been good. Yeah.
My wife got us on that diet.
For real?
A very high protein diet.
How much do you eat like a day?
I do a protein shake as soon as I get done. That's
Really?
Anywhere from about 30 to 45, 50 grams, depending on what my workout is, basically.
That's good. That's good.
So I do that. I often do a second protein shake, which is 25 to 30 grams. Later during the day, I usually do a salad with grilled chicken and or shrimp.
Ooh. Oh, you locked in.
And then for dinner, and I do like peanuts, raw peanuts, cashews, nuts as a snack. And then at dinner time, we usually have some variation of protein. Sometimes it's buffalo meat, sometimes it's seafood, sometimes other stuff.
Okay, you locked in. I like that.
You know, you can get creative now with protein.
Yeah,
it's not
you
like
can.
it was back in the day.
Yeah, and there's so many like meals on TikTok you see of how to make high protein meals and it still tastes good and it still be healthy too. So
it's amazing. Olive oil and salt are the two key tricks that we found.
Really?
Salt and pepper. Yeah, because you know olive
flavor.
oil still gives you that juiciness, but it's not. It doesn't settle on you the way that other oil.
I got you put me on right now. I gotta start trying that.
Are you a seafood guy?
Nah, not really. No.
Not really. You're a fish guy.
Nah, really.
All right.
I'm more of a steak, chicken type person.
Have you had buffalo meat?
Buffalo meat.
You can get it at the big chain. I don't
Really?
know.
I gotta try it. You put me on.
You can go to the big grocery store in the Christiansburg area.
Really?
And if you go to the beef section, they've got buffalo steaks and ground buffalo as well.
Oh, I gotta try that. You from Blacksburg?
I'm from Lynchburg, Virginia. So, and I go through Blacksburg. Total side note. I know this is our chat. We'll get back to football with Kamari in just a moment here in the fast lane. I do sales, and so I cover Lynchburg, Roanoke, Bedford, all the way down. I've had clients in the Blacksburg area as well, so I know all the different grocery stores and which ones have particular food selections. So that if if I have the desire to eat something, my wife. The bad news is my wife also knows, so she's like, "Oh, you're going to be in this area. Can you grab it?" These are things that happen when you get older. I got a little Find Friends app, so my wife can just be like, "Hey, I see you're at where? Go there." Anyway, so you're at 300 pounds. How do you feel physically from Chuck Lucy's offseason conditioning program and what he has designed for you to get ready for camp, which begins in a couple weeks?
Oh, yeah, I feel good. You know, his offseason program is to make sure that I'm in condition. The problem that like most people have when they gain weight is like they're out of shape and they're breathing heavy and stuff like that. For me, it's not been that case at all. We've been putting on weight and running hard the whole time. And it's not just me that's getting weight. It's a bunch of people on our team that's getting weight. Like, they really harped on it. And our whole D-line is bigger, faster, stronger. Our O-line is bigger, faster, stronger. And I think it'll be a testament coming this fall for that.
So you mentioned a lot of people around here. Kamari Copeland is with us here in the fast lane. Kamari, can you tell, not just in conditioning, but throughout your time, the difference in the, I don't mean to like meat market you guys, but the physical composition of your fellow football players in terms of the way they look, the explosiveness, and the ability to handle the bulk?
Yeah, for sure. You can definitely tell a difference. I felt like last year, it just wasn't as much of the emphasis on being like size and being as lean. Like, people are getting bigger and they're like staying lean, and that wasn't really a huge emphasis last year. But this year is the emphasis, and you need that. Like in the season when I'm playing Miami and Miami got a big O-line. I'm playing two dudes that are 320 plus. I need to have weight to be able to hold double teams and maintain like durability on my body. So it's a real good thing.
Where do you feel that challenge being more exacerbated, more up front? Is it over the course of the game if there's not depth on the defensive line, or is it over the course of the season just because of the cumulative wear and tear?
I would kind of say both, but I think it's more of a durability thing. Like, when you're 280, hits feel different when you're 300 pounds. So I think it's more of a durability thing.
So can you observe them more when they're 300 pounds?
Yeah, you can definitely observe them more. It feels a lot better on your body. Like, after practice, I'm like, dang. Like, when I was 280, I was like, yo, this low-key hurt a little bit. But 300 pounds is like, I'm delivering the blow now. So
all the fun stuff with football.
Yeah, for sure.
Difference in tone and attitude as we wrap things up with Kamari Copeland. A lot of people have wondered about that. For you, have you noticed it more with James Franklin being around him? Have you noticed it more with Brent Pry in a different role and responsibility where he can just focus on the defense as opposed to all the intricacies of running an organization as a coach?
Repeat the last part again?
Yeah. How much have you noticed, particularly Brent Pry, and a difference in him being able to just hone in and focus on the defensive unit?
Oh, yeah, it's been good. You know, like last year, I wasn't really around him as much as I am now. It's been good. I had a good relationship with him. So being able to talk to him and like talk defenses, because he has a lot of experience. Like at Penn State, they were top 10, top 5 for a numerous amount of years. So he's very experienced, and like I talked to him, he has a lot of experience. He knows the ins and outs of the defenses and stuff like that. So it's been good, and it speaks to like his humility, like being able to come back in a different role. That's not easy to do. That's hard. So it just speaks a lot to him, and I'm glad we get to play this year.
Kamari Copeland, defensive tackle, Virginia Tech Hokies, here in the fast lane at the ACC kickoff with our coverage presented by Black Goose Chimney Service, blackgoose.net, to get your appointment set up for the home inspection that you need to make sure your chimney is good to go. Not free, but it's worth the investment so that you can feel cozy this winter. Kamari, thank you for your time. We're grateful to chat with you.
Yeah, appreciate you. Thank you.
Kamari Copeland with us here to wrap up part one. More on the Hokies when we return.
Lunchtime just got an upgrade. Stop by Makadu for our $8.95 weekday special and grab a legendary sandwich at an unbeatable price. Choose from your favorite classics, the Coney Island, Betty Bop, Ragtime, or Stogie. Classic sandwiches packed with savory meats and flavors in between fresh bread. Make it a meal by pairing your sandwich with a sidekick, a warm cup of soup, or crispy chips. Great food, cozy vibes, and the best deal in town.
It's time to share great food and fun. Just to be there, the only one. Just to be there at Market's.
We'll see you at the Dues.
Are you sick of running your dryer longer just to dry your clothes? It might not be a dying appliance. It might be a clogged up dryer vent. Call Black Goose Chimney Service to find out. Their certified ventilation specialists don't just diagnose chimneys. They also clean dryer vents through the entire ventilation system. Get peace of mind as you're protected from lint clogging your dryer vents, one of the most common causes of house fires. Call Black Goose Chimney Service today and visit blackgoose.net to schedule your dryer vent cleaning.
Almost half the vehicles on the road have visible body damage. Those cars look ugly, embarrassing, and even unprofessional. If that's your car, why live with it? Get Mako. At Mako of Lynchburg, they'll work with your insurance company or coordinate out of pocket, because living with damage to your car is annoying every day. Don't live with the uh-oh. Get Mako. Mako of Lynchburg on Kemper Street.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at JJ Hendrickson 27 and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
So we're back here in the Fast Lane at the ACC kickoff, covering it, presented by Black Goose Chimney Service, to get that home ready, the fireplace ready, so that you can enjoy a nice, cozy winter. I know it's hot out now, but it will be winter soon. This is when you make the plans, and you start by visiting blackgoose.net. Meanwhile, Tyson Flowers, defensive back, Virginia Tech Hokies, is with us in the Fast Lane, and I've been doing this for almost a decade, and before you put on the headset, the first thing you noticed about me is that I have eyes that are two different colors, which people at Fast Lane, Ed Lane, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube can look at the visuals and do the research themselves. Is that the type of attention to detail you bring and the memory you have?
I like to think so. I don't know. I just noticed it. I feel like that's super cool. It's unique. I like things that are unique and versatile. I like to think I pay attention to things. So, yeah.
I mean, I would say so. It's pretty impressive for you. The transition from last year with Brent Pry being the head coach to James Franklin now in Virginia Tech. What's different about that?
The thing that stood out to me the most was the energy around Blacksburg and Virginia Tech as soon as Coach Franklin got on campus. The immediate support from all the fans and supporters and the school and the program for Coach Franklin, I think, is super exciting. And just the unique way like he went about everything, especially with Coach Pry, like hiring Coach Pry on staff. I feel like that's something that's unique in college football. That's like you don't really see much. And one, I think that speaks volumes about Coach Pry's humility and his character. But yeah, I think the just excitement around the facility and the town has been really unique and really cool to be a part of.
For Coach Pry to come back in from a public perception lesser role, and I don't think that's necessarily the case. He's probably more hands-on with you now than he was before.
Yeah.
Is that a reasonable assessment? He's actually more hands-on with the defense?
I would agree with that assessment. Being a head coach is a lot of, it's kind of like a CEO vibe, like very business-like in terms of how he has to manage everything. Coach Pry is so much more hands-on as a defensive coordinator and has so much energy and swag, and I think he was a good head coach. I just think I'm enjoying him as a defensive coordinator and him being more hands-on and having more time to sit down and talk football. Like, I think that's been awesome, and I think him and Coach Franklin had a ton of success building defenses at Penn State, and so I'm just excited to be a part of it now again.
Tyson Flowers, defensive back, Virginia Tech Hokies, with us here in the Fast Lane. Our coverage at the ACC kickoff presented by Black Goose Chimney Service. Also, with the heat and humidity of the summer, they can make sure that it is not getting into your house through your chimney. That can be a culprit, which is why you should start by visiting blackgoose.net. The overall defensive structure and philosophy, how different or similar is it now compared to what's been asked before?
Yeah, I think it's unique. I think that's why guys in the defense right now are latching onto it, is because it feels so unique to us and our strengths. Obviously, Coach Pry is going to have his fingerprint in the stuff that he likes and that he's ran in the past. The stuff that we did last year, because he was the head coach, but he also had his fingerprint, or he had his hand on the defense a little bit as well last year. And so there's things that he does already. There's things from last year that he's like, there's new things that he's incorporating in. So it feels like this defense is just tailored for all the guys that are part of the defense right now. And that just, as a player, that just makes you want to go out there and be even more excited for the defense and the plays and the things you're going to be able to do.
Do you have more, and I don't mean this to like shade at James Franklin, but like it would seem like just because he's got the CEO stuff that he has to do more communication with Brent Pry than even James Franklin, because that's the guy that's directly orchestrating, it seems like, the nuts and bolts of your defense.
Well, I think the structure of how college football works is it depends on the timing of the year. Like in the summer, we're obviously probably most hands-on with the strength staff and Coach Losi and those guys. And then you spend a lot of time with your position coach. And then you probably spend a lot of time with your coordinator as well. You probably spend the least amount of time with your head coach. I will say, though, Coach Franklin is around, and he is very hands-on, more so than the head coaches that I've had in the past, just in terms of meeting and practice. Like, he's everywhere all the time. So I will agree with you to a certain extent, but Coach Franklin is everywhere all the time.
But see, that's okay. You can push back against us. Like, we're asking questions to get a reaction out of you, to get your honest assessment. One of the things that we brought up and discussed with Kamari Copeland when he was with us here just a few moments ago, if our listeners missed it, Fast Lane, Ed Lane, however you listen to podcasts, you can go check it out. We'll have that archive once the show wraps up. But the size, the physical composition of athletes, they're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster. First of all, can you notice that in yourself?
In terms of, like, throughout the offseason?
Yeah, like you have more muscle mass, you're more explosive than you were a year ago.
For sure. I think that's what the offseasons are for. And I think throughout the seasons, you kind of lose some of that just because you're more focused on playing football than you are building size, mass, and speed. But yeah, Coach Losi and the staff, they know what they're doing. I think all the guys, and even the coaches had some time off a couple weeks back, and they got back in town, and that's the first thing they were saying to all of us: "Holy cow, you guys look bigger, stronger, and faster." So yeah, Coach Losi knows what he's doing in there.
So when you get back into town, do they have workouts for you to do while you are not in town?
Oh yeah, there's programs and packets sent out. We're not missing any days or any chances to work out. They make sure we're taken care of.
So where do you go? Like, how do you juggle that if you're on vacation with your family or if you're traveling?
Mm-hmm.
How do you make sure you're still doing what the workout entails while also being able to have a little slightly decompression time?
Yeah, well, I think the key with Coach Losi is he tells us a lot of the time too. It's like, guys, when we're in town and we are working out, they're grueling workout. It taxes your body a lot. And so by the time we get to a 4th of July break, he tells us, guys, you're going to need some time. Like, your body's going to need some time to recover. That being said, we're not just going to sit around and do nothing. And on the workouts that they send home with us, there's different variations. There's like, you can do this kind of speed drill, but if you don't have access to it, you can get on the bike and do this. If you don't have access to that, you can get on a treadmill, or you can walk, or you can go outside and do this. So they incorporate so many variations to where there's stuff we can do no matter where we're at.
The excuse eliminator, is that a good description?
Exactly. That's a great description of it. Yeah.
I don't know how it popped into my head. God put that in my head because I'm not capable of thinking that one on my own. Tyson Flowers, Virginia Tech Hokies, defensive back with us here in the Fast Lane. Tyson, we'll wrap it up on this one. I know it's a job. I know it's been that way. What do you do to decompress?
Ooh. So I'm a big movie guy. I love movies. Like Christopher Nolan. I love all of his movies. Like Disney movies, Pixar. I'll watch any movie. That's my big thing. I go home and watch movies. Recently though, my brother got me his Batmobile Lego for Christmas, and I think he started an addiction or something, because now that's the other thing I'll go home and do. My apartment is just full of Lego sets now. Those are probably my big two.
That looks like my house, my 2 8-year-old boys.
Yeah, probably.
Awesome. Tyson Flowers, defensive back, Virginia Tech, with us here in the Fast Lane. Tyson, great to chat with you. Thank you so much. It's been fun, and we wish you health this season.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
And then we transition from the defensive side of the ball with Tyson Flowers to a man that might be in some of those collisions with Tyson Flowers.
Oh, yeah.
Running back Marcellus Hawkins is with us here in the Fast Lane. Do you and Tyson Flowers have lots of collisions on the field, off the field, or I'm going to set you up both?
Oh yeah, for sure. We always see each other during the practice whenever it's crossover times, man. He's a great player, man. He's always bringing that it factor into the game. He's always going hard. He's never he's a great guy. We're collisioning on and off the field. We go back into the locker room. We're talking stuff to each other, but it's all love. I love that guy.
Marcellus Hawkins, running back, Virginia Tech Hokies, here in the Fast Lane with our coverage presented by Black Goose Chimney Service. Get that chimney ready for the winter season.
Oh, yeah.
Blackgoose.net. And by the way, they can find ways to help keep that heat and humidity out of the chimney and out of your house as well. So Blackgoose.net is where you need to go for that. Marcellus, how much of your offseason has been spent in terms of time away from the field studying Saquon Barkley, which might be kind of fun, Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, and the Penn State running backs to get an idea of how James Franklin and his offensive staff are going to use you?
Oh yeah, it's been pretty good. I definitely have been watching film on these guys for a lot longer than I even knew that James Franklin was coming into Virginia Tech. So it's just been great. You know, it was already a part of my film study. I always watched Saquon Barkley. I watched a lot of Katron Allen last year. Like he's a pretty great player. So like I watch all great players. Like if you're a good player, I'm definitely watching you. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got a lot of comparisons. Do you compare yourself to any one of them, or is it more adapt from each of them?
Nah, yeah, I don't really like to compare myself to anybody. I honestly just, I don't really like to compare myself, but I do watch a lot of people's game. Like I watch everyone's game. I'm not gonna lie.
Do you like watching football when you're not playing football?
It's a little hard, but like I can watch highlights. You know, I do like watching football actually. Whenever I'm not playing it, I do.
Marcellus Hawkins, running back for the Virginia Tech Hokies, with us here in the fast lane. Job responsibility-wise, what's different now compared to last year in terms of what you're asked to do?
I think it's really just the same. You know, at running back, you can't change up too much. You know, run the ball, run into open space. You know, go out there and create big plays. You know, do the right things with the ball in your hands, protect the quarterback. I feel like it's all the same thing. I feel like can nothing change too much at the running back position.
A fairly simple job description?
Yeah, super simple job description.
Give us some insight, if you don't mind, the way last season went with Brent Pry being fired, Philip Montgomery takes over as interim, and then you find out before the season even wraps up that James Franklin is going to be the next head coach at Virginia Tech. Where was your mind throughout that process in terms of trying to play that season, wondering what your future is going to hold, and then deciding to stay in Blacksburg?
Yeah, really, I think my mind around that time was just controlling what I can control. I knew that my head coach being fired, I couldn't do anything about that. I can feel some type of way about it, but at the same time, you got to control what you can control, especially whenever you got games the next week, you know? So that's really just what I told myself every day. Just control what you can control. Just put your best foot forward every day. Just try to give your best effort every time you can, you know? Everything else will handle itself.
Sure. And for that, what were the key elements of James Franklin, your discussions with him, discussions with other staff members that made you say, hey, I can still stick in Blacksburg and accomplish what I want?
You know, James Franklin has a long history of great running backs. So just being able to play under a head coach like that, you know, he's just sent a lot of people to the league. You know, I just believed in him, honestly. From the day he came, I seen that chip that he had on his shoulder. I got a chip on my shoulder. I knew we had meshed super well.
Oftentimes it seems like they have multiple running backs, but it gets whittled down to about two with James Franklin at different times. How do you mentally prepare knowing that it looks like you'll be part of that rotation, God willing, health stays where you want it to be, but variation of the role so that you're fresh, but also they seem like they have times where those running backs get 25 to 30 touches a game.
Hey, that's exciting, man. I love toting the rock. I love playing running back, and I just can't wait. I'm super excited to be a part of that rotation, you know, and just ready to go out there and give it all I can give.
Where do you believe you can improve the most?
I think I can improve my all-around game. You know, I don't really like to just look at one piece of my game. You know, as a football player, you can't just only look at one piece of your game. You gotta go in. You gotta craft everything. You gotta get everything right so that whenever it's time to go ball, you're balling.
Marcellus Hawkins, running back for the Virginia Tech Hokies, is stopping by with us here in the fast lane. A lot of players have said they feel more explosive. They feel stronger through an offseason with Chuck Losey. Is that the same for you?
Oh yeah, 100%. Chuck Losey, I think he's one of the best in the state, like in the country. I think he's one of the best strength and conditioning coaches. He pushes us every day. You know, my body and everyone else's body is feeling good. We're running our fastest times on the GPS. We're PRing every week with our lifts. So yeah, he's getting us right. I think he's the best. I think he's the best strength and conditioning coach.
You said getting us right. Have you noticed the physical composition and make? I don't know, like meat mark. I'm not trying to objectify y'all, but have you noticed that amongst your other teammates that they also are?
No, yeah, 100%. Everyone's getting bigger. Everyone's getting faster. If you guys come out and just come check us out, you guys will see it. You guys will see. I'm not just chatting. Everyone's getting bigger. Everyone's getting faster. We look like a different team.
Marcellus Hawkins, running back for the Virginia Tech Hokies, is with us here in the fast lane, getting himself mentally ready for an offense where the running game is a heavily featured component of it.
Sir.
Are you mentally ready for camp?
I can't wait. I love camp. I love when things get hard. I'm one of those guys. I love when things get hard because I know it only get better at the end. It get worse for it get better, you know? So I love camp. It's all football all day. I love it.
So is that because you like to be the running back that's dishing it out in the fourth quarter?
Yes, I love being a running back at all quarters. Anytime I get to touch the ball, I love it.
What about when you don't get to touch the ball and you got to block?
I love it. I love blocking. I love taking sacrifices for my teammates, protecting my quarterback. I love it.
So you like blocking too?
I love everything about football, about the position of running back. I love it.
All right, you love everything about football. I would imagine there has to be something that you do to decompress so that you have that same fervor and energy that you're sharing with us in the fast lane. What do you like to do, Marcellus, to decompress, to get your mind right, so that when you're around football, you're rearing to go?
Honestly, I like to go home. I like to go into my room. I like to turn the fan on, turn my extra fan on, and turn the lights off and lay down. That's my favorite thing to do. I love just chilling around, just calming down, knowing that I got a big day of practice ahead of me tomorrow. That's that's what I like to do.
So is it like meditation?
I don't know what it is. I just love just chilling in my room, being calm, watching TV,
Marcellus Hawkins, chilling with us in the Fast Lane. Marcellus, great to speak with you. We really appreciate your time.
Yes, sir.
Best of health to you this coming season.
Appreciate you, man.
Marcellus Hawkins with us here in the Fast Lane. When we return, we'll hear from the AD of the Hokies, Brian White, after our chat with CFP Executive Director Rich Clark.
Mark Dalton here with Terry Volkswagen. Get ready to fall head over heels for the perfect VW SUV. One size doesn't fit all, though, and that's why Volkswagen has an SUV for everyone. From the compact and affordable Volkswagen Taos to the tech-packed Tiguan and the spacious Volkswagen Atlas. No matter which one fits your lifestyle, you'll love the comfort, performance, and safety. Stop by Terry Volkswagen on Forest Road in Lynchburg or check us out online at terryvw.com. Terry Volkswagen. You'll love our cars.
Big transitions feel like big hurdles. That's why Central Virginia Counseling has 2 dynamic 6-week summer groups for rising 6th and 9th graders packed with essential life skills. Each week targets a new skill for success, tools like organization, time management, task initiation, anxiety reduction techniques, and skills for making friends and communicating well. Through peer connection and expert guidance, students will gain tools to feel capable, connected, and ready for day one. Visit us on Timberlake Road or Wigington Road in Lynchburg or at centralvirginiacounseling.com to learn more.
End zone, light them out, touchdown Liberty.
The atmosphere at a game is amazing. It is like family.
I've been a season ticket holder for 14 seasons. The atmosphere is electric.
It's an experience. You look forward to every week.
I like the pageantry, the band.
The pride of knowing that this is our university.
2026 Flames football season tickets are on sale now. Get yours at lufootball.com.
Every Saturday night, after the Hill City Howlers play ball at City Stadium, the best fireworks in the region light up the Lynchburg sky. It's the perfect way to end a perfect night. Baseball, family, and a show you won't forget. Get your tickets now at hchowlers.com. That's hchowlers.com. Howl out loud.
Come join the chat or give us a piece of your mind. JJ Hendrickson 27 and Fastlane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Big picture discussions. We always like having these with Rich Clark, the executive director of the College Football Playoff, who is back with us once again here in the Fast Lane, part of our coverage at the ACC kickoff presented by Black Goose Chimney Service. Blackgoose.net to schedule your appointment. Winter will be here soon. We'll be in the middle of the College Football Playoff, and you want to enjoy it with a cozy fireplace that is ready and safe to go. That's where Black Goose can do that fire chimney inspection to make sure your fireplace is good to go. Rich Clark with us in the Fast Lane. Does that get you more nervous when we do that live read?
No, Ed, I love it. We're looking forward to the season and getting ready to get things started. And, being here at Media Days it's sort of the official start, I guess, of the preseason anyway. So that was a great read. I love it.
Well, you're in the spot where also at that time of year, people will be looking forward to either another round of a 12-team college football playoff or a potentially expanded college football playoff. Jim Phillips, when he spoke Wednesday to kick off the ACC kickoff, mentioned that the beginning of December is kind of that timeline to have a decision. Is that because deadlines spur action? Is that because you need a little leeway in case that deadline needs to get moved a smidge just because you're close to the finish line? Take us through the insight of how right now it's at 12 teams, but clearly there's discussion on whether it's more.
Right. Yeah, we are having serious discussions about what the format should look like. And really the 3 options on the table are 12, 16, or 24. And we do have to have a decision by December 1st because we need that amount of time to get ready for the next season. So it wouldn't go into effect this coming season, but the following, so the 27 season. But you need that time. You need your broadcasters to be able to figure out where they're going to play the games. Our staff has to be ready to determine how we're going to run the different rounds if it were to change. And so there's just a lot of pre-work that has to get done. And December 1st kind of gives us that lead time to make it great, because whatever it is, we got to make it great, and it will be.
Rich Clark, Executive Director of the College Football Playoff, is with us here in the Fast Lane at the ACC Kickoff with our coverage presented by Black Goose Chimney Service, blackgoose.net, to get your inspection scheduled on that chimney in your house. The College Football Playoff expansion, you mentioned the 3 different options. How much of this centers around, in particular, the SEC? If you're going to expand, conference championship games may go away, and that seems like the one that generates the most money for its conference, so they need to find the reassurance that if it's going to go away, it's going to be worth their while financially.
Yeah, I think that there's a misunderstanding that this is all about revenue, because it isn't. Revenue is not the only thing, but it's an important part of it. It's the conference commissioner's job to ensure that they're generating enough revenue for their conferences and the institutions to do the things they need to do. But one thing they don't want to do is go backwards. And so I think what we're doing now is just making sure that we understand all of the financials of an expanded playoff. And you're right, the SEC has a very valuable conference championship game, and that might go away if we went to 24. And so I think Commissioner Sankey wants to make sure that he understands what the financials are, and not that I don't know how that would sway him which way or another, because that's not for me to say, but I do know that he wants to understand every aspect of the second and third order effects of a changed format. So we're digging into it and trying to get good numbers for him.
Is the SEC the big hang up on where things go? Is it ESPN and ABC? Because we saw when Jim Phillips spoke, he's an outspoken proponent of the 2014 format, but he didn't seem overly vociferous. And from my perspective, that would be because you want to protect your conference interests, but you also don't want to upset one of your valuable rights partners in ESPN, ABC, and Disney.
Yeah, I would say the SEC is not the only holdup. That all of the commissioners really want to understand the financials and everything. They want to understand how it's going to be scheduled. They want to understand what it does to student health and safety. They want to understand what the fans think about it. So there's so many different things, but our TV partners are also interested in this so that they can know, how does this affect the postseason for them? How does it affect where we play the games? Are there going to be overlapping games? What does each weekend look like? So there's so many things out there, and we've been gathering information and data for months, for years actually, but there's just a lot to this. I think it's a more complicated scenario than people might think.
Rich Clark, Executive Director, College Football Playoff, in the Fast Lane, presented by Black Goose Chimney Service at the ACC Kickoff. For that element that you brought in as well about the multiple factors, one of those, we're seeing it now, or Jim Phillips mentioned in his kickoff to the ACC Kickoff, the value of week 0. The ACC's got 5 teams and 4 games in that slot. We're seeing it in our backyard because Virginia is part of that, hosting NC State on that week 0 Saturday. Do others in college football see what's going on with that and realize that an expanded playoff may be beneficial in part because you start the season earlier in what seems to be unclaimed football real estate?
Well, we at the CFP, we try not to take that into account, because really we serve the regular season. Regular season is preeminent, and that's what we want to do, is just elevate the regular season. So from my perspective, I would like to see those kinds of decisions, what we do with week 0 or how the regular season is managed, to be done independent of what happens with the playoff. And then we adjust the playoff to the regular season. We make the playoff fit the regular season. So I know a lot of people are looking at what happens in week 0, but from my perspective, I don't want the playoff to drive that. I think that should drive the playoff, and then we react to what happens with the regular season.
Now, with all that being said, if you expand, maybe they move the start of the season up, maybe that all looks the same and different. How much of those are factors that go into college football playoff expansion discussion?
Yeah, the overall calendar, and even though I say I don't want the playoff to drive the regular season, we can't do anything in isolation. You have to look at the calendar in totality. So we'll look at everything when we present it to the commissioners to make their decision. But the calendar is a key factor, and I mentioned that before. So if there's changes to the regular season calendar, that would certainly affect the decision process, because one thing I know is the commissioners don't want the season to get longer. If anything, they want it to be shorter, if anything, if we can make that adjustment. But we'll take it all into account and give them the information that they need and answer their questions, and then hopefully they can come to a decision here by December 1st. But one point to note, if they don't come to a decision on December 1st, we stay at 12 teams for the 27 playoffs. So every year that we pass December 1st, if they haven't changed, that's actually in a way a decision in and of itself, because they're deciding that we're going to stay at 12 for another year. So 12 has been pretty good. I mean, it's been exciting, and I think it's served college football well. But December 1st is that deadline if we're going to make a change for the following season.
Rich Clark, Executive Director of College Football Playoff here in the Fast Lane at the ACC Kickoff. Our coverage here presented by Black Goose Chimney Service, blackgoose.net. For more information on getting your chimney ready for the upcoming winter months and potential moisture that sticks around during the month of August, they can assist with that as well. Rich, you mentioned the schedule and wanting the season, if anything, to not go longer but to go shorter. How do you balance that with player safety, but also the fact that there were some times where there were longer gaps between certain rounds of the college football playoff and maybe contracting and condensing that?
Yeah, so some of those longer gaps were driven by player. For example, if we want to make sure that we have 7 days in between games so that players can recover, they can get their legs up under them, and teams have enough time in between games, we play for example, we always play on New Year's Day for the quarterfinals. We play the 3 of the games on New Year's Day. So that drives, if you're going to have to wait 7 days, we play the semifinals on Thursday and Friday. So if the quarterfinals happen on New Year's Day and we have to wait for a Thursday, Friday to come, and we have to have 7 days in between them, I don't want to be too confusing here, but if you look at a calendar, you can see that if you can't get 7 days, if you only have 5 days in between the semis and the quarters, then you have to wait till the next week to have a minimum. So rather than 5, we would take 12 days in between, because we don't want to go less than 7. That is, it's not healthy for the players to play with that kind of margin in between their games. So sometimes with that in mind, it drives us to the following week to get that gap in between the games.
Other considerations in the college football playoff right now, we know that it's a 12-team format. 5 highest conference champions are now in that, and the 4 power conferences and 1 from the group of 5 are in that discussion. How has that evolved after what transpired last year?
Yeah, so one of the things, and this wasn't a change that got voted on last year, but this decision that I'm about to describe actually was written into the contract for the coming 6 years. And what it says is, rather than the 5 highest ranked conference champion, it's the conference champion from the ACC, the Big 12, SEC, and Big 10. And then the highest ranked team of the G6 are the 5 automatic qualifiers into the playoff. That's a little bit different than last year where we took the 5 highest ranked champions. So that's a shift that was already contemplated before the season ever started. So that'll be a little bit different this year.
In discussions of whether it goes to 16 teams or 24 teams, is that type of top conference champion from the Big 4, ACC, SEC, Big 12, and Big 10, plus 1 group of 5, is that the model that would be most likely to unfold? Would there be a scenario where you'd have 2 group of 5s, and then because more at-larges theoretically are going to be taken up by power programs plus Notre Dame, how is that discussion looking and unfolding?
Well, and that discussion would happen. I think as it stands right now, it's most likely going to stick with that same model that I just described. The 5 from the Power 4, the 5 champions, plus the highest ranked G6 team. That's the most likely model that we could expect. But there's nothing to say that couldn't change if the commissioners wanted to. But so far, we haven't really explored other models, and I think that's the one that'll stick for a while.
When you're looking at that model, is a lot of it looking at what happens at FCS with their 2014 playoff in terms of scheduling and structure?
Clearly the FCS model is something that we've all seen, and it does inform what we might do. But I think that the commissioners are really trying to think about this independently as it impacts the FBS teams. But, FCS has been very successful with their championships, and, there's some success there that we can learn from and help us to understand what might happen in an FBS model.
A couple more questions with Executive Director of the College Football Playoff, Rich Clark, who's with us here in the Fast Lane. The ACC, at the kickoff to start off the Commissioners Forum, Jim Phillips mentioned and announced the new tie-breaking formula for the ACC. What input, if any, were you having in those discussions?
No input really. That's really conference business and commissioner business. So we did understand that they were going to look at their tiebreaker again, but we didn't really have any input. We shared with all of the commissioners what the other conferences were doing, just so that they understood what other tiebreakers looked like. But we did not have any really influence on what the ACC did with their tiebreaker.
A fun question to wrap it up with Rich Clark
All right.
on our ACC kickoff coverage presented by Black Goose Chimney Service. Learn more and schedule your chimney inspection at blackgoose.net. What's more challenging? Juggling the personalities and intensity in the Air Force, as you're a veteran, and we appreciate your service for that, or those in college football and the conferences and TV executives who are passionate about their own interests?
Oh, man. Yeah, that's not a fun question, Ed. You're going to get me in trouble, man. But no, I love both groups. They're just so awesome. I love my friends from the Air Force and the people that I work with, and our commissioners are great. I will say in both groups, though, you have people that are under a lot of pressure to deliver something great for the country. And they feel that pressure and they understand how important their jobs are. And so, it's just something that we all have to take very seriously. But I will tell you this, not a day goes by that I'm not grateful to be in this enterprise. I love college football. I love being a part of the CFP and what we're able to produce for the country at the end of the season. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Well, the fun I would imagine for you is knowing that's going to be a challenge and then having your mind ready for it every day.
Yep, you got to be ready every day. You got to step out the door ready to get better and do something good for college football.
Rich Clark, Executive Director of College Football Playoff, with us here in the Fast Lane. Rich, really grateful for you stopping by. We love chatting with you, and when we speak with you, it's a sign that the calendar year is basically over and we're almost at the College Football Playoff.
Here we go. It's great talking to you, Ed. I appreciate you taking the time to speak to me every year. Thank you.
So we transition from that discussion with Rich Clark, Executive Director of the College Football Playoff, to another business-themed chat here in the Fast Lane. This time we welcome in Brian White, the new Athletic Director for the Virginia Tech Hokies. Busy first couple of weeks. You've announced a new leadership team. You got Ryan Gottlieb that you brought in as the Deputy Athletic Director and Chief Strategy Officer. Brad Bell, not to be confused with our friend, Pastor Brad from Impact Church. A different Brad Bell comes from Georgia to be the Executive Associate Athletic Director of Advancement and the Executive Director of the Hokie Club. How much of your vision taking this job, Brian, was filling out a leadership team and getting to work on that as soon as you could?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. You got to have really good people around you. You're only as good as your team. And there's some really good people in place at Virginia Tech Athletics. And we're just trying to complement that with some added pieces that I think both Ryan and Brad are going to be huge for us. To have somebody over the philanthropic arm, the Hokie Club, that comes from one of the better fundraising operations in college athletics at Georgia, with a great reputation, knows exactly what we need to build, knows exactly what it needs to look like, and also is a really talented fundraiser and leader. And then on the non-philanthropic revenue generation side, Ryan Gottlieb is going to be somebody that really helps us maximize the revenue from our vendor contracts, our revenue contracts, and just make sure that we're doing everything we can to generate revenue in many different commercial and creative ways.
You've referenced the phrase generate revenue in creative ways, and you mentioned that phrase of revenue generation a couple of different times. How much of your day really is focused on that particular element of the job?
Oh, the vast majority, and it is, it's always been the reality in college athletics that resources are need to be commensurate with expectations. And that's probably a phrase I use too often, but it's a reminder for myself, reminder for our staff that if we're expecting our coaches to compete for championships, we need to be trying to compete for championships on a revenue generation side and provide them with championship resources. So, and it's always been the case, from the beginning of time, the programs that generated the most revenue had the best facilities, therefore got the best recruits and had the most success. And that was probably more of an indirect connection, but you could out-coach facilities, surely, in the previous realm of college athletics. I'm not sure you can out-coach resources when it comes to NIL in this current era of college athletics. So I think for us, we have great coaches in place, and we need to make sure we always have great coaches in place, but we need to make sure we, in addition to that, complement our great coaches with tremendous resources.
How much of that is the resources to pay players?
That's huge. It's huge. Yeah. When I mention NIL, that's exactly what we're talking about. And in terms of resources to support a program, of course, scholarships are huge, and nutrition is huge, and facilities, and all the things that have always mattered. They still matter. Those things haven't gone away. But I do think, competitively, if your coaches are recruiting and other programs are able to offer their key recruits substantially different NIL opportunities, that's going to be really difficult to overcome on the recruiting trail. That's a little bit different than what the facility looks like when you're talking about actual NIL opportunities. So that is that's crucially important.
When you're putting your totem pole of things together where those resources have to go, where do you point it to in terms of salaries for coaches, revenue share, and NIL for players versus the amount that gets invested in facilities?
I think that it probably depends on the sport and what is their current reality. So I think some programs are tilted one way and maybe need to be tilted back the other. But probably most importantly, I'm a big believer that the rising tide raises all ships. And as we are able to generate more revenue and as we're able to better resource all of our programs, we'll be really strategic with where we allocate those resources. But the one thing I will say is the head coaches for their programs, there will be partnerships in place where, I won't make decisions that aren't in line with for programs with the head coaches of those programs. I want to have clear partnerships with all my head coaches and work together on the vision for each program and how it can achieve the most amount of success possible.
New Virginia Tech Athletic Director Brian White with us here in the Fast Lane. Our coverage presented by Black Goose Chimney Service. Learn more about getting your chimney ready for the winter months and keeping that humidity and water out of the chimney at blackgoose.net to schedule your appointment. Brian, from the creative revenue stream opportunities, what amount of your assessment of Virginia Tech is these are things that have been done at other places but have not been unlocked at Virginia Tech? What amount of your time is these are things that have not really been done industry-wide but need to be done?
Still working through everything, in terms of what has, the past of Virginia Tech athletics. I don't want to come in and assume I know anything, about the history of Virginia Tech because I haven't been at Virginia Tech. So I'm learning from the people that have been here. And I think there's some really good signs. The Metallica concert is a really good data point to show that, hey, we can put on big time concerts. Can we do more of those? And I think that there's other really good things in place that maybe it's just do more of some of the things we have in place. Maybe it's do different things as we have a fresh set of eyes and look at what everybody else has done in the country. And but it's also taking, not just copying what they've done somewhere else and cookie cutter putting it into Blacksburg, because there's different realities about Virginia Tech and Blacksburg that need to be considered for that plan. And I need to make sure I'm listening and learning from the people that are here and have been on the ground trying to build the Hokie brand, because it's one of the best brands in college athletics. So absolutely, I think there's a lot of really, really good things.
You mentioned one of the best brands in college athletics, but yet they have not had success in football recently. Obviously, James Franklin is a key cog in that. How much easier does that make your job coming in knowing that you've got a new coach, a fresh coach with fresh ideas? I'm sure he's demanding, but you know where you are in that crucial hire.
No, it's really exciting. That was a huge draw for me. The idea of working with Coach Franklin, who I think is a really good football coach, a good human being, and I think he knows what it needs to look like. And I think he is very, very passionate about building like I am. So I think we're cut from the same cloth, and I'm fired up to work with him. And, we're going to build this thing.
Plenty of our fans will be fired up to listen on the home of the Virginia Tech Hokies, the VTRN Sports app, 93.3 FM in Lynchburg, as well as 106.3 in the Danville Southside areas for Virginia Tech football. We'll have all those games in basketball and baseball coming up in the next few months as well. Your communication with James Franklin, how much do you communicate with him regularly?
Daily. He's been a great communicator. And we have a regular in-person meeting. And then, just we've stayed in touch, stayed connected. His staff and my staff also stay connected. So it's very, very regular, tremendous communicator. He's great to work with.
What are the nature of the conversations in terms of where he's prioritizing what he needs and where you can be of assistance with that?
We're talking about everything right now because we're trying to get a lay of the land. So whether it's, scheduling or NIL or facilities, we're talking about everything, on a regular basis.
At what point do you guys start looking at, okay, here's how much it costs on average to put together a roster in each sport, not just for this season with the numbers locked in, but knowing that as soon as the season ends, discussions begin for next year? How does that conversation go with James Franklin, but frankly with other coaches as well?
That's the first conversation with every single coach, in a good way. Because the world is changing college athletics. So all of our coaches, obviously including Coach Franklin, are very, very attuned to that. And the goal is to get an understanding of the landscape, of the market, to know what we need to be able to be successful at Virginia Tech. So that's definitely a big part of any conversation we're having early on, because then we need to plan and forecast and understand what the goals need to be and how aggressive we need to be on the revenue generation side to not only remain competitive, but to become much more competitive and to build championship programs.
New athletic director for Virginia Tech, Brian White, with us here in the Fast Lane. We'll wrap it up on this, Brian. We are very thankful for your time. Revenue generation for Virginia Tech, where are they compared to a power program in terms of where they should be?
I think Virginia Tech athletics has done a good job and is competitive, within the ACC. Where can we go? I think that's yet to be seen. But I know that's my biggest focus is to test the parameters on where we can take this revenue machine.
Is a lot of that based upon the fact that there's still some unsettled nature of how college athletics will look in a year, 5 years, 10 years from now?
Yeah. No, I mean, absolutely. We want, but also because we want to win national championships. We want to win ACC championships. Of course, we're here at ACC Media Day, but we want to win national championships as well. I think what drew me to Virginia Tech was the passion of this fan base and how much this fan base loves the Hokies. And I think with that becomes a lot of ambition. With passion, I think enables you to have ambition. Without passion, you really don't have a right to be ambitious as a fan base. But this fan base to me has both, and I love that. And so I want to figure out what we can do to work our tails off and figure out ways to generate as much revenue as we can to support the coaches we have in place.
Brian White, Athletic Director, Virginia Tech Hokies, with us here in the Fast Lane. Brian, good to speak with you. Thank you for your time, and our fans look forward to hearing what your products look like and sound like when we bring them to our audiences on the VTRN Sports app, 93.3 FM, Lynchburg, and 106.3 Gretna Southside, your home for the Hokies.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. Enjoyed it.
Brian White with us to wrap up the Fast Lane. If you missed anything, Fast Lane, Mid Lane, wherever you're in the podcast.
Thanks for listening to The Fast Lane on VTRN Sports, 93.3 FM, W227 BG Timberlake, and 1320 AM, WVGM Lynchburg.
This is Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. Today we heard the first public comments from LeBron James on his NBA free agency. Since announcing he was leaving the Lakers, he didn't offer any clues to his thought process regarding his next team, but he did have some fun with fans about teams linked to him. Said he heard the 76ers, he heard the Warriors. They are among the leaders for James, along with the Cavaliers, Heat, and Timberwolves. Minnesota gives him the best chance to win now, believes ESPN's Kendrick Perkins.
They moved the needle for me, especially after them getting LaMelo Ball. When you look at their roster and what they have, LeBron James fits perfect with that